Oho, mamy to.
Pierre's not here now.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Narrative
And of
designer
course we have,
Diablo Immortal?
Kiszak
UX designer Diablo Immortal?
and Ryan
O
Quinn.
chłopie, będzie puszowanie Diablo Immortal!
So, we are actually starting
Oh,
off today's show.
Oho!
Some Diablo Immortal.
Developer
conversation.
update z Diablo 4?
Also, I do want to mention we're
Będzie
using these
podstawą
fancy
marketingową do puszowania Diablo
We've been joking
Immortal.
around.
Nie!
I call them the Britney Spears mic.
Right.
Rod calls them the Janet Jackson mic.
Miss Jackson, if you're nasty.
Jackson.
It's because I'm older.
Rod, but is not wearing one
I
of
refuse.
them.
It doesn't take a genius to see the size of my head, and the ability to put that little wire around this size of noggin is impossible. So therefore, I've passed.
Disappointing. But he does have a really good impression of Britney Spears.
I am not doing it now.
Oh.
I am not doing it.
Okay, maybe we can get it out of him.
I'll knot my shirt later. It'll be good.
Maybe we can get it out of him during Q&A. Someone asked that question in Twitch chat. We'll make sure to bring that up during Q&A. And
Great.
there you go. You're just on the spot and you have to answer it. So
I think it's important that, like, last time you clarified what we were doing was the campfire, which is more of a casual, we're just kind of giving updates. You know, we just want to be able to talk to the community.
Yes.
This is more of a developer stream, so it's a bit more official.
Yes.
But one of the things we wanted to recognize too is that, like, as a family of games, there's lots of cool stuff happening within in Diablo, and so we don't always want to just be focused on just D4. We want, anytime there's something big or really interesting happening within Diablo, we want to be able to talk about it. You know, I could imagine we're going to have a season 29 conversation for Diablo 3 at some point in the future. And so one of the things we're going to look at to do today was not just talk about, you know, we are definitely going to talk about season 1 on Diablo 4. And for some reason, Adam has structured this to be as tantric as possible. We'll get there, trust us, but it's going to take a minute. So, but what we really want to look at as well is we want to talk about we're going to talk a little bit about what's the preseason before we go into season 1. We're going to talk about, you know, what's going on with D4 today, because we actually have some news about today. Another tease, didn't mean that. And and then we want to talk a little bit about Diablo Immortal, because something pretty incredible is happening in Diablo Immortal, which is in nearly a decade, we're having our first new Diablo character class is being revealed. And we wanted to reveal it here on this stream. So, you know, one of the great things about Blizzard is the SFD team, story and franchise, and Blizzard Video and everything that they do around cinematics. And we thought, how can we introduce a new character class without having a kick-ass video to go with it? So, without further ado, may we present to you the new Diablo character class coming to Diablo Immortal very, very soon.
Nie! Dlaczego lejem sprzedażowym franchise'a Diablo stała się gra mobilna? Błagam. Blood Knight. O, mega fajny trailer. Ładnie wygląda. Ale to ma Castlevania vibe'y. Oj nie. To nie jest Diablo, stary. To jest zbyt anime. No nie, to jest anime, stary. Błagam, nie. Fajnie wygląda, ale to nie jest Diablo.
Blood Knight, and the darkness fears me.
To wygląda jak trailer do V-Rising, stary. Jak ta postać się ma teraz do Nekrosa, który też korzysta z magii krwi?
There we have it. The new class coming to Diablo and Diablo Immortal. It's the Blood Knight.
July 13th.
July 13th.
a little over a week away.
Exactly.
Sounds like there might have been some encoding issues.
Exactly. Yeah, I know that some people are talking about there's a little bit of hitching on it and so forth. I will say that we actually do have that trailer that will be on a blog on DiabloImmortal.com immediately after the stream, so people can actually check it out. It will be on YouTube, along with all the details that we're about to talk about.
Teraz widać, w jaki rynek jest targetowany Diablo Immortal, nie?
Obviously,
Stary azjatycki rynek i to jest azjatycki typ reklamy.
Nearly
To jest...
10 years.
Jak dużo anime możemy dodać do Diablo, do reklamy Diablo, by nadal to było trochę Diablo, ale mimo wszystko było jak najbliżej anime.
When we released DI, we released it
Dzięki Adam za
six
41
very
miesiąc.
familiar, very stalwart classes that all of us love, that many of us have been playing for decades. And it's great to kind of indulge in that nostalgia. It's great to get that dopamine hit of playing a classic. But after 6 classes, it left us with the opportunity to do something that felt really new and different. To do a supernatural class that's kind of monstrous, that does things that our other dark classes like the Necromancer and the Demon Hunter don't do. And so we're really, really stoked about the opportunity to release the Blood Knight on everybody.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I know, like, obviously everyone's kind of seeing the Blood Knight and they're thinking, like, is this, like, vampiric in some sort of way? Or, like, how does this fit in with the actual lore within Diablo?
Right, so the fine details are Blood Knights and vampires are intertwined. On Sanctuary, vampires are kind of like living plagues. They go from hunting ground to hunting ground, they kill people, they bite people, and sometimes people who they've bitten, they suffer this monstrous transformation. They start to devolve into what we call thralls, kind of like lesser vampiric beings, long teeth, hunger for blood, all that stuff. And a Blood Knight is a person who, through means of an ancient ritual, has that curse of thraldom arrested inside them, frozen essentially in place. They get some advantages, but they get some drawbacks too.
Diablo, stary.
What do you mean the curse of turning into a thrall is a drawback?
Well, their thraldom is essentially on pause. So basically what happens is a Blood Knight,
Dzięki
also
Adaśku za rok suba.
preternaturally strong and fast, can see in the dark, can smell blood from a mile away, doesn't age anymore, as you've seen in the concept art, very, very fancy. But on the flip side, you know, they have these blood red eyes, they have black veins in their face,
Right.
makes people uncomfortable. And maybe,
why.
yeah, I know, right? And sort of more pivotally than that, you know, deep inside their soul, there is an abomination, a monstrous darkness that hungers for violence. And in order to tamp that down, in order to slow their transformation further, they have to perform a ritual. That keepsake that you saw in our cinematic character's right hand, the little thing on the chain.
Oh, the chain, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically their lifeline.
So
like
a link to their past?
yeah. It's got a memento within of the last place that they were kind of truly human.
Right.
And so every morning, noon, and night, they're doing ablutions with this thing to hopefully continue to keep the darkness at bay. But, you know, it's a process.
Right.
The ritual, it's hearsay. You know, it's been passed down for hundreds of years. And for basically every Blood
Dzięki
Knight,
Adaśku
you
za
know,
równe 12
they
miesięcy.
fail at some point. All Blood Knights are doomed to one day succumb to their curse.
And they don't know if that's
Fine,
one day, 1 year, a thousand years.
Could
Screen,
be
yeah.
They don't know.
centuries,
Right, yeah.
right? They're very, very long-lived. What they do know and what they pledge on is that they're going to use all of the time they have left to push back the darkness. And ultimately for them, since that is such an uncertain question, it's really about their inner sense of balance. Can I do enough good
Right.
to make up for the evil that will rise when I'm gone?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out because we had the art up there earlier, and that art is gorgeous looking. At the same time, they're very pretty. I've been joking about it. I'm like, oh, look, they're so pretty.
Well, if you were going to turn into a monster, you'd want to stop.
Well, it's
right?
funny because they're very like gorgeous here, and then they turn into the abomination, which is really funny to see. So it's like a complete like opposite of what it is.
I mean, you mentioned the abomination. I think we saw we saw the Blood Knight turn into this creature during that. So what actually is going on here? Like this is I guess Chris will talk eventually about like how an abomination comes to me, but this is basically them tapping into what's inside them to change form.
Yeah, they're letting the curse off the leash just a little bit. It's going to grant them extreme power in the short term.
This is a Bruce Banner Hulk thing.
Yeah, but maybe there's a little anime teardrop there of like, do I come back from this?
Right. Okay. Got it.
Awesome. Well, I know with the Blood Knight, obviously, like, it's new class. How does it fit, Chris, into the like a gameplay style? Like, what if you're playing at Blood Knight? What can you expect the style to be as a person that's actually jumping into Diablo?
Yeah, so the Blood Knight is actually a melee hybrid class, meaning there's tons of up-close combat with polearms. However, they have a host of shadow and blood abilities they can use to manipulate the battlefield in their favor. I think the drawback of Blood Knights might be that players that start playing it might feel that their mobility is limited. However, they have tons of legendary essences to help them improve the ability to close the gap on enemies, as well as life-stealing abilities to...
A jak wygląda farmienie esencji w Diablo Immortal? Jest jakkolwiek połączone z monetyzacją?
Close combat, so they're essentially taking more damage, but then they have abilities themselves to actually essentially drain, as we can see, kind of like life from others, essentially replenish their life while they're in combat.
The kebab attack, as I like to call it.
The skewer.
The skewer attack is my favorite thing right now. I was like, so what's happening there? We saw it in the trailer. We see it here as well, is where basically able to stab an enemy, smash it around like as if on the end of a hammer. So that's, you're like, Chris is like, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah,
It's
pretty awesome.
But it actually has a stun as well, right? It's not just the attack on the one thing that you skewered. It actually it has an area effect.
Yeah, so the Blood Knight stabs their polearm forward into the closest enemy, then swings overhead the enemy and slams it into the ground, stunning everyone in a small AoE. And there are also legendary essences that let you lunge forward or actually leap to perform the slam.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's awesome.
And then I know, like, of course, with every class in Immortal, they all have different ultimates depending on their primary attack skills and so forth. Like, what kind of two different ultimates can we expect with the Blood Knight?
Yeah, I could talk a bit about the primary attacks. The first is Ravage. They're basically swinging their polearm around in a 3-hit combo. And right here is the ultimate, where they become a 5-hit combo with a stun at the end.
Dual-wielding polearms, that's...
Graliście kiedyś w Diablo Immortal? Ja to totalnie skipnąłem z...
primary attack they have is called Shadow's Edge. It's quite a unique one. It's the first in Immortal where the,
moralnego punktu
in melee
widzenia.
range, the Blood Knight will do a slash, and for enemies that are further away,
Monetyzacyjne gówno na telefon.
And there are legendary essences that, you know, add damage over time or make the dagger ricochet.
Nice. So you can essentially, it's good
Dzięki,
room
Tomasz,
clear
super.
type of abilities is what I'm hearing. So if you got a ton of mobs in front of you, especially if the daggers are ricocheting and you mentioned piercing and so forth with the ultimate and everything, you can essentially clear out whole rooms with that. So it's awesome to hear. I know, as you mentioned beforehand, tons of legendary essences and everything that are associated
to jest
to
strona, w którą idzie franchise Diablo,
I
niestety.
know, and we're even seeing here, this is like the abomination that we were talking
Mogę
about
już
before.
uznać franchise Diablo za martwy? To już jest ten moment?
Yeah, so I'll talk about the abomination a bit. The way it works is it is a transformative skill that requires defeating enemies to fill the bar, much like your ultimate.
Right.
However, it happens much more often, and it then
Microsoft
transforms your
Copium.
entire skill bar into a new primary attack, followed by 2 specific skills.
Ulty.
Blood Rush,
Jezu,
where
jak mnie to
the
wkurwia
Blood
w
Knight
Diablo
actually
4 ulty.
dashes
Co to jest,
forward in a
moba do kurwy
ball
nędzy?
of blood.
Ulty w
And
Diablo
there's a
masz,
3-hit
kopie.
combo attack where if on the last hit they fly into the air and slam the ground, stunning everyone.
To jest takie dzieciaczkowe. Mam
That's
ulta.
awesome. See, I think
Kliknę sobie przycisk i teraz będę dużo damage'a bił
with
w
this
hack and
update that's
slashu.
coming out on the 13th and the Blood Knight itself.
Siema, Zajf.
And there are like even other components and that are kind of going to be coming with this actual update. Do you guys have any like additional information on.
Well, there's ways to play it, right? Like so the things that's really interesting. Like I think having a new character class introduced on basically the anniversary of Diablo Immortal is really exciting. Like it's a great way to celebrate 1 year that Immortal has been.
20-lecie Diablo, nie puszczone nic, puszczony randomowy zlepek shotów na YouTube'a, ale pierwsza rocznica Diablo Immortal wypuszczamy nową postać, nie? Jakbyście się zastanawiali, gdzie są priorytety.
Paragon 500 Barbarian, I know that's not high, thank you very much. I can take my Paragon 500 Barbarian and turn it into a Blood Knight, yes? Because there's basically three ways. We have the player who's been playing for a year like myself, we have the new player, and we have the test driver, right, is the way to think about that. So maybe you can go through that.
Yeah, totally. So if you're brand new to Immortal and have never played before, you can play the Blood Knight right out of the gate, create a new character completely free, and start with the main story complete with custom Blood Knight VO lines for all of the main quests. And for players like Rod, who have been playing for a while and want to convert to this class, I'm happy to say that we've made some major improvements to class change. Strength and intelligence will now convert properly.
I know, it's a huge request that a lot of people are asking for, yes.
Yes, it's going to be
Że
great.
konwertujesz te postacie na inne klasy?
Players will be able to, during the event, change to the Blood Knight on a one-day cooldown and also revert back infinitely. So if you decide you don't like playing the Blood Knight, you can revert the day of, or if you want to try it again tomorrow, you can go ahead and change back to the Blood Knight.
Nice. Awesome.
And lastly, I want to talk about the Crimson Plane event. So for Immortal players that are familiar with Fractured Plane, there will be a
W Immortalu masz opcję zmienić postać od buta tak bez stworzenia nowej, ale to jest przypisane do tego, że forma monetyzacji Immortala jest tak drapieżna, że jak miałbyś stworzyć nową klasę, to byś nagle musiał wywalić kilka tysięcy dolarów, że po prostu ta gra całkowicie nie sprzyja graniu na jednym koncie na kilku postaciach, bo wszystko jest pakowane w jedną postać. A nie w konto?
I have a very specific build with very specific gear, but if I want to go play Fractured Planes, it says, oh, you're a barbarian.
Ale ta gra musi być gównem.
See how far you can get with this, and you build up your gear and stuff as you're playing through this roguelike experience, yeah?
Exactly.
And so now for the Blood Knight introduction, you've created Crimson Planes, which is a version of the same experience to go and test drive all the different Blood Knight skills?
Exactly. So you'll be able to try out different skills and legendary essences without actually committing to changing to the class. So just try it out.
A co z twoim gearem? Jak masz gear pod barba, jeśli switchujesz pod inną postać.
So we have, and we have other things like I mentioned that are coming in this actual update. I know that for any new player that's coming in, of course, they can create a Blood Knight, how we mentioned beforehand, customize it, and it's completely free. And then, of course, any existing character can do class changes.
Diablo Immortal ma więcej opcji edycji postaci niż Diablo 4.
I know we have like a new legendary gem that's going to be coming in this actual update as well. And then we even have just other items associated with this specific patch that'll be hitting as well.
Full set of legendaries for the Blood Knight too.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be listing out every single legendary that is available for the Blood Knight on our blog immediately after the stream. So you guys can check out the cinematic trailer that we showed off for the Blood Knight earlier on that blog, and of course read all the details about what's coming in this update that is hitting on the 13th of July. So soon. It's crazy. We're super stoked. The cinematic is amazing, by the way. I just want to
Why are you, for people who didn't get to see it in full frame rate, you're basically rubbing their noses right now.
Essentially,
Go watch it again, please.
See it in the Blizzard Cinematics team, amazing team.
Jak stworzysz postać, musisz wydropić cały nowy gear, tam dostajesz tymczasowe kół, które jest ogólnie do pizdy, aż do momentu wydropienia na nową klasę.
So, it makes perfect sense, it's great. But we are super stoked. So yeah, July 13th is when it's going to be coming out. And then, of course, again, check DiabloImmortal.com immediately after the stream. We'll have a blog up there.
Widzowie, wchodźcie na DiabloImmortal.com.
Congratulations, guys, on the year. It's been an amazing year for Immortal. And I think people who maybe you tried it at launch and haven't gone back to take a look at it, basically every quarter we do major updates and really change the game. So the ability to craft set items, the ability to take your duplicate legendaries and turn that into a currency so that you can make your current legend, stronger, and the way that you do dungeons now, and the tower, the clan play, there's just so much else going on. So it's a free-to-play game. If you want to go check it out, just to see all the changes. Like I said, there's been in a year. To me, it's a completely different game in the sense of the different ways that you can approach the content, which is exciting. But hearing
Nic mnie bardziej nie wkurwia w grach, jak nadawanie narracji, że możesz w inny sposób ten content
it's about
wchłonąć.
2,000 lines in total. We've got a pair of really, really awesome voice actors, Abby Trott and Ben Prendergast. Absolutely killed it as the Blood Knight. It's just pure haughtiness and bloodlust and action all the way through. They've got some interesting takes on I was going to say the name of the villain, our Act 3 villain in Darkwood. Some interesting perspectives there. But yeah, I don't think there's ever really been a better time to re-roll, to start a new run through the main story.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much, and congratulations.
Thanks so much, Rod.
How much will the Blood Knight cost? I know we covered this early on, but if you guys want to reiterate.
The Blood Knight will cost nothing. The Blood Knight is free.
It's free. So if you're a new Immortal player, or you're a existing Immortal player, you can literally jump in, start playing the Blood Knight on day one, which is on July 13th. So, and of course, you can play through the campaign, and we had mentioned that it has essentially custom VO and everything associated with it.
That's right.
Question here from Jeffrey Allen, and didn't specify the Steve or DI, so I'm actually going to ask both because I think this is relevant to both. Also,
Why do you have a new mic?
I actually don't know. But yeah, 2 mics, guys. I'm very
I'm too Mike Adam.
you have me in stereo. Can you say which cosmetics will be transferring between characters? So for instance, for Diablo Immortal, we'll ask this specifically for Diablo Immortal, and then we'll talk about Diablo 4. But in regards to transferring cosmetics, if you ended up buying a cosmetic in Diablo Immortal, does that actually also appear on the Blood Knight?
So cosmetics
Ale
purchased,
ważne pytanie.
Prior to the Blood Knight's release will not be retroactive. However, the what was the Mother's Lament set?
Hatred's Heritage.
Hatred's Heritage will be available for the Blood Knight.
Oh, nice. Okay, cool. So going forward, there will be now new cosmetics available for the Blood Knight, just as they are for all the other classes in Immortal. Looking very, very similar to some popular characters from that franchise. Very pretty vampire-ish people, but not vampires.
I think we discovered Adam's kink, by the way.
We can turn off Rod's mic now, so that's all we need to do. But yeah, was there any inspiration kind of thrown with the Blood Knight?
I think, when you're working with a tropic idea in fantasy like vampires, you take inspiration from all over. The spear thing puts us in mind of Vlad the Impaler. The aesthetic, you've already talked about some potential references, but I think for us is as much like what we take out as what we leave in. We don't want the Blood Knight to feel like a grab bag of all vampiric myths. They are very specifically grotesque, blood, shadow, knightly weapons oriented, and so there were things like turning into mist, like turning into wolves, etc., that we immediately said, hey, these need to be off the table. And so in that regard, I think there's a lot of familiar that we're channeling, but there's also like a very dialed in identity for the class.
Awesome.
Everybody knows that it's necromancers that turn into mist.
We've just heard about the Blood Knight, so they're now.
We have nothing to announce at this time.
Oh, wow. That was very strange.
Yeah, Rod sitting off camera can answer that perfectly. So yeah, I think we're going to wrap it here for today. Obviously, we talked a lot about all the stuff with Diablo Immortal for the Blood Knight coming out on July 13th. We also have for Diablo 4 Season 1, Season of the Malignant, which is going to be the patch will be on July 18th. And then the actual season starts on July 20th. We do actually have 2 blogs, one on DiabloImmortal.com and one on Diablo4.com. They'll be going live either right now or immediately after this live stream. That'll have all the details and information that we just talked about here on the stream. Yeah, lots of stuff coming up here for Diablo.
Patch this afternoon.
Thank you guys so much. Thanks for tuning in to the Diablo Developer Update live stream, and from everyone here on the Diablo team, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Co wy myślicie?